Fletch with Lacrosse Unlimited, here to teach you about the basics of stringing a Duramesh pocket for lacrosse. Alright, first thing you do, grab your mesh, pull it. It's going to naturally roll one way, so if you notice, as I pull the mesh apart, it starts to roll towards me. I'm going to fold it over and count the number of diamonds. You want 9, so you count from right to left or left to right, whatever. Just make sure you have 9. If you have more than 9 diamonds, the way I'm going to teach you how to string, you'll end up with an uneven pocket, and it will throw straight into the ground. So, measuring sidewall. You're going to measure the length of your arm to the center of your chest. And then cut. For your knots, you need to do a double knot. Flip your string over so you create like a little noose. Put it through, twist, pop it over the top, and pull. That gives you a nice double knot, so when you pull it through, the string doesn't pop through the sidewall hole. This is the fun part. If you've strung enough sticks, you're not going to feel anything when you tamp out the ends. So you want to burn the end so it doesn't fray. Alright, always be facing the back of the stick when you're stringing. I never have the stick facing me. I always want to make sure that I'm looking at the back of the stick. I start right to left, and I'm going to anchor this first hole of mesh to the top hole in the sidewall. You're going to take your sidewall, put it through the top hole. You're going to go up through the mesh, pull it all the way through, come back in, and come back out that same hole. What that's going to do is lock the mesh to the side of the stick. For your top string, you go first through the plastic, then back through the mesh, and through this area, so when you pull it tight, it should look like that. Next, in through the mesh, out through the plastic of the same hole of the mesh and the plastic, and pull it tight. And that creates a double lock, so it locks this mesh across the top. Skip a hole in the mesh, move to the next hole in the plastic, in the plastic, out the mesh, in the mesh, out the plastic, in the plastic, out the mesh, in the mesh, out the plastic. Then to finish it, in through the mesh, out through the top sidewall hole, back through the mesh, back through the top sidewall hole, and pull it tight. The knot again, through, flip it, and pull, so you have a double knot there. Trim it, burn it, and that's the top string. So for sidewalls, every stick is different. You don't have to use all the holes down the side. Again, same measurement technique. You want to measure the length from your chest out to the end. Burned. The knot again, flip it over, put it over top, flip it, pull it. There's no way you guys will get this on your first try. Alright, you can do one of two things. You can start through the same hole that you started your top string, or you can go down a hole. I usually start through the same hole, pull it through. I come up through the mesh, and I go in through the plastic, but back out up through the space between sort of the loop pull it all the way so it tightens down and pulls the mesh to the side. For a tighter top and a lower pocket, you're going to want to stretch the mesh as much as possible and lock it to the sidewall. So if I was going for just a neutral pocket, I'll go right to the next hole, up through the mesh, back out the loop, and that locks it over. So this makes this part of the pocket stationary, so it's never going to be moving with the ball as it comes up through the top of the pocket. Don't skip a hole if you want sort of a neutral or higher pocket. Again, lock it. And you can lock off 3 or 4 of the holes depending on how low you want the pocket to be. So this one, after this top one, I'll have locked 3. And then you start coming up through the mesh and skip a hole in the plastic. And you're going to go in through the plastic, out through the loop there. So you'll see this part of the pocket's going to move, so as the ball travels up the pocket to the throw strings, or shooting strings, or hockey laces, or whatever, shooters, whatever you want to call them, the ball's going to catch, have a little bit of hold, or whip, which are generally the same thing depending on who you're talking to. So I continue that down this side of the stick, up through the mesh, in through the plastic, out through, tighten it down. I make sure that my sidewalls are tight all the way down to the bottom. If you leave it loose, the pocket's going to start bagging out. Things are going to happen that shouldn't. It'll get whippy, thrown to the ground, and then you've got a customer coming back telling you, fix my pocket, which is always really annoying. So again, through the mesh, plastic through, pull it down. Up through the mesh, in through the plastic, pull it down. As you get towards the bottom, you want to gauge how deep do you want the pocket. Do you want to go all the way to the bottom hole and use all these holes? For me, I usually like to skip a bottom hole and then double up the mesh. And to double it up, I go through the mesh once, then up through the mesh twice, pull it, I go in the bottom hole, and then back out the next hole to anchor the bottom. Same knot that we used on the sidewall or the top string. Make a knot, flip it, just grip it and flip it pretty much. And that's one side of the stick, all done. And you want to make sure that whatever you did on the right, you do on the left. So what you've done on the right hand side must be done on the left. Otherwise you end up with an uneven pocket, unhappy customer, and a really bummed out manager. So your finished product should look something like this. Usually players go with 2 shooters and then the V, 2 across and the V. Again, like I said, you got to make sure that both sides are done the exact same way so the pocket's uniform. Otherwise the ball will go some other place. And yeah, How to String a Stick by Fletch.